Hi, this is Shaun Bradshaw with Zenergy Technologies. I wanted to continue our series on making the transition as a tester from Waterfall to Agile. The second in this series today, I want to talk about something we call swarming to the top. Now, normally in waterfall projects, of course, testing is a set of activities done more towards the end of the overall project. So it's not unusual for there to be weeks, even months of work that goes into the project before testers really get heavily involved. And while testers certainly should be doing some risk-based analysis and have some idea of what functions or features or aspects of the system they want to test first and earliest, there's not as much emphasis on making sure that the number one feature is the first thing tested. In fact, sometimes it's not, just because of the delivery schedule. However, in Agile, because we're working in such short time frames, you really have to be very cognizant of the things that you focus on. You can't test everything, and you can't test as deeply as you would like, which means that the most important features are the ones you really need to focus on. So what do we mean by swarming to the top? Let me give an example. In a 2-week sprint, it's not uncommon, of course, we want the testers and the developers and the product owner or the business analyst all sort of working together to identify what we want those features to do. And of course, the product owner will have identified their top priorities. So the first thing you want to work on as a team is the most important feature for that sprint. Now, I have seen in some organizations making this transition, they create sort of a mini waterfall within the sprint. Some people may refer to it as a Scrummerfall. And what I mean by that is I've seen where maybe the first few days there's some more analysis that happens, and then the next few days in the 2-week sprint there's some development that's done, and then the last 3, 4, 5 days there's a lot of testing. Well, essentially you're testing it all at the end, and what you've done is you've compressed waterfall into a 2-week period. What we'd really prefer to do is take whatever that number one feature is, whatever the product owner's top priority item is for that sprint, and compress and have the team as a whole, as much as possible, focus on all the activities necessary, all the tasks necessary to get that feature done. That means as a tester, we have to sort of sideline, in some cases, the thoughts, the analysis, the testing that we'll do on some of the other features to make sure that we are swarming to the top. That is, we are focused totally on that number one feature so that it gets done as early as possible. And therefore, if something happens, if we find a bug, the developers have more time to correct that bug, we can retest it. At the end of the sprint, if we got nothing else done, we got that number one feature, which should hopefully please the product owner to some degree. They may not be happy about not getting anything else, but at least they got their number one feature. And so that's the key, is as a tester, thinking in terms of smaller slices and not trying to test everything all at once, but really focusing your testing on the most important feature, the most important tests early, as early as possible in the sprint. Swarm to the top. That's our number 2 item in this series. And we'll be back with you next time for number 3.